300-pound dudes tackling you on a frozen field, the last thing you want to do is stay out there. Believe me, the Rams players were thinking about the jacuzzi at their team hotel, that they find it laughable, but more laughable if they totally disregard the trade whatsoever. This guy has transformed the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. And you could argue the entire defense is going to be absolutely ferocious next year. But if your number one priority is to win a Super Bowl, then J.J. Watt is making a grave mistake. I have to ride this Chad Henne experiment for an entire game. I might need a whole bottle of Hennessy just to get through that. Guy who's won 8 division titles, who's made 5 AFC championship appearances, who's reached the Super Bowl 3 times and has won 2 Super Bowls for this organization. Aaron Rodgers has only won 1 Super Bowl with Green Bay. Drew Brees has only won 1 Super Bowl with New Orleans. There's only 13 quarterbacks in NFL history that have won multiple Super Bowls, and Big Ben is one of those individuals. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe right here on J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on YouTube. I'm Jonah Malkin with you every single Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. What a weekend of sports in the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant had some controversial comments regarding this year's NBA Finals. There's history at the Open. In golf, some major news out of the U.S. men's national soccer team winning their group. I'm going to touch on all of that. But, of course, we have to start with what just took place over the weekend on Saturday night, the NBA Finals. We've got a series. We've got more than a series. We finally have a road team that's won a game, and it's the Milwaukee Bucks that take Game 5 of the NBA Finals to take a 3-2 series lead over the Phoenix Suns. Game 6 is on Tuesday night back in Milwaukee in the Deer District. And there's a common saying in sports that every team is striving to play their best in the postseason. Every team, no matter what sport, everyone always wants to be playing their best basketball, their best football, their best soccer, their best hockey, their best putting in the postseason. Now, sometimes it can be a little bit hackneyed, but oftentimes it speaks volumes, because the reality is oftentimes these games come down to, are your best players playing at their peak performance? Are they playing their most consistently at the right time of the year? And for much of the season and for much of the postseason, that's been what we've lamented the most about the Milwaukee Bucks. Could they actually string together their best performance in the highest leverage moments? And Saturday night, I was about to say last night, Saturday night was the first time that you could legitimately say that the Milwaukee Bucks saved their best performance of the season for Saturday night. That was the best playoff performance the Milwaukee Bucks have played throughout this entire postseason. I know people are going to go back to the series against the Nets, against KD. Yes, they trailed in that series 0-2, started with an 0-2 deficit, and they had to win a Game 7 on the road. They had to win some big games at home, avoid elimination in Game 6. But the reality is, even in those wins, as impressive as those wins were, you could always point to, well, one member of the big three for the Bucks wasn't necessarily playing at the optimal level. Maybe it was Drew Holiday, who was pouring in 11 points but shooting inefficiently, 5 of 16. Maybe it's Chris Middleton, who disappears. Giannis was really the only stable force for the Bucks, but it always came down to the supporting cast. Could they also play at their peak level? And for the first time all postseason, not only for the finals, but for this entire postseason, you could honestly say, when you take a step back, that all of the Milwaukee Bucks' best players played at their very best on Saturday night. You got every single thing you could hope for from the Milwaukee Bucks, not to mention from the entire game. The entire game provided everything, but it was the Bucks' big three and really the entire starting 5 and all 7 guys that played the majority of the minutes that saved their best performances all on the same night. This is the first time that it came all together, all at the same time. Giannis does his thing, 32 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, efficient again, 14 of 23 in over 40 minutes. Chris Middleton drops 29 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 12 of 23 shooting, above 50% once again over minutes. Drew Holiday finally had his breakout offensive performance of the postseason and of the finals. 27 points, 13 assists, over 40 minutes, was doing it on both ends of the floor, was locking up CP3 for the majority of the game till the fourth quarter, came up with huge defensive plays, obviously the notable one against Devin Booker with the clutch steal and then the alley-oop to Giannis for the and one. But all three, even though their impact may have been dispersed throughout the entire game, they all left impacts on the outcome of the game. Even Pat Connaughton chipped in 14 points, 4 of 6 shooting from the three-point line. He was rebounding the ball extremely well. 6 rebounds. Bobby Portis with 9 points. They got some contributions from those supporting guys. And again, we've always lamented, how many times have we talked about Drew Holiday, for example, that he has not played consistently enough on offense the way that the Bucks needed him to advance in the postseason. And this is obviously why they invested so much in acquiring him, was for moments like this to come up with huge defensive stops, to step up offensively, to actually provide a formidable and make a formidable trio for the Bucks. This is why they brought him in. And he was ultimately, Drew Holiday was the biggest X factor in this game. He was the biggest difference maker because in the first quarter, the Suns led by 16 points going into the second quarter. Bucks were dead in the water. And Holiday in that second quarter, 14 points, 5 assists. He scored or assisted on 8 of the Bucks' first 9 made field goals in the second quarter. That's what he did. He was a life preserver. He kept them afloat in that second quarter and then obviously propelled the Bucks forward with both his defense and his offense. They absolutely needed it. They were dead in the water going into this game. And like I mentioned earlier to start the segment, this game provided everything. Everything that you love and hate about a basketball game, this provided everything. You had the magnitude of the moment. Game 5, NBA Finals, Phoenix is back at home playing confidently. They're up by 16. There's a raucous crowd. Then it shifts to the road team having to stir up some mid-game rally. The Bucks do that. They take the lead going into half. They take the lead going into the fourth quarter. They lead by 10 with 3.5 minutes left. And now it's the home team that is able to bounce back and trim into the deficit. And they come roaring back in the fourth quarter. They cut the lead down to 1. And next thing you know, the game is settled in the final minute. And that's what you want in an NBA Finals game. Devin Booker, it's not like the Phoenix Suns didn't play well. Devin Booker drops 40 points for the second consecutive game. It's unfortunate that they both resulted in losses, but he drops 40 points. Chris Paul, again, 21 points and 11 assists. He bounces back. 10-point flurry in the fourth quarter. Then you've got DeAndre Ayton, again, a monster, 20 and 10. It seems like he's been super consistent with that. And then Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges also scoring double figures. You got production from them. So this game had everything that you wanted, came down to the final minute of the game, and the road team was able to execute a little bit better. And Phoenix shot 55% from the floor, 68% from the three-point line, and they still lost. Think about that. You shoot that well, you shoot that efficiently from the floor at home in an NBA Finals game, and you somehow come out on the losing end. Came down to defense. The Bucks managed to rely on their defense, coming up with that huge and that clutch steal on Devin Booker, the blind side steal by Drew Holiday, on the drive by Booker, kind of coming from his hip side. And to be honest, I thought that Drew Holiday should have dribbled it out. Instead, he saw Giannis running, who was calling for the ball, was barking for the ball, and Holiday threw it up to him. The trust that exists between those two guys, that's why he threw it. So the Bucks, once again, relied on their defense, but more importantly, Milwaukee's is very unique right now because they've managed to do something that rarely has happened in an NBA Finals game, in an NBA Finals series. They've managed to do something that very few teams have been able to do in the history of the NBA, and that is leave multiple indelible marks on an NBA Finals series. Even if they win or lose, they've already left at least two indelible marks on this NBA Finals. Most of the time you see there's always one mark left in an NBA Finals. Obviously, 2008, Celtics and the Lakers, Paul Pierce getting helped off the floor at TD Garden in a wheelchair. We all remember that. 2013, Miami and the San Antonio Spurs, Ray Allen backpedaling, hits the corner three to send the game in overtime. 2016, LeBron with the block. 2017, KD with the three-pointer over LeBron in Game 3 at Quicken Loans Arena. There are plenty of examples where a team leaves one indelible mark, but rarely do you see a team leave two indelible marks on an NBA Finals series. And we've got two all delivered by the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 4, Giannis's block on DeAndre Ayton on the alley-oop attempt from Devin Booker. One of the most now iconic blocks in NBA Finals history. Probably the second greatest block in NBA Finals history, potentially. Then in Game 5, you've got Drew Holiday's clutch steal on Devin Booker, and on the other end, the alley-oop to Giannis. That's a play that will live forever in NBA Finals lore. Obviously, it will take on a heightened status if they ultimately win the finals, but that's so rare to have a team that can leave two marks on a series already. Two very notable, prominent moments in a game. That is extremely unique. And listen, now this is the first time that the Phoenix Suns are trailing this postseason and are really facing elimination, on the brink of elimination. They obviously trailed the Lakers in the first round 2-1, and then they had to win a Game 4 on the road in LA. Obviously, Anthony Davis went down. The rest is history. But outside of that, they've never even trailed, let alone face elimination. They've never trailed in these postseason, in this playoffs. So we'll see what type of makeup they have. We've seen the Bucks show their mental fortitude, their backbone, having to win on the road in Brooklyn in Game 7. We've seen them have to win numerous big games. But the Phoenix Suns, this is the first test that they will have. We've seen now the Milwaukee Bucks show a glimpse of an actual NBA champion, of what they're made of. Now it's time to see what the Phoenix Suns are made of. Game 6 on Tuesday. The Pfizer Forum is going to be rocking. The Deer District is going to be absolute bonkers. And I can't wait for Game 6 because this is going to be, it could either go the way that I anticipate it'll go, which is a very close game down to the wire, or the Bucks might blow the Suns out of the water because they've got all the momentum. So listen, they're going to need Chris Paul to play just as well for the entire game that he did for the fourth quarter. And the reality is Devin Booker may need to drop 45 to 50 points for them to win. That honestly may be what's needed and may be what's required of him for the Phoenix Suns to win this game. We'll see what Game 6 has in store on Tuesday night. So it made me start to think about, naturally, now that we're 5 games in to the series, who the NBA Finals MVP is. And this is one of those rare years, I think, where sure there is a leading candidate for NBA Finals MVP, but you can honestly make a strong case for a bunch of candidates. There are a lot of worthy candidates right now in the NBA Finals. It is one of those rare years where it's not quite as clear cut as I think it's been in years past. So if you were to start with the Phoenix Suns, if the Phoenix Suns were somehow able to prevail, you could say, well, Chris Paul's having a great finals. Drops 32 points in game one, drops 21-9 in a game two win. Obviously just dropped 21-11 on Saturday night. He is what led to at least one major win for the Phoenix Suns this postseason. And the impact that he's had on the Phoenix Suns and on this series, you can make an argument for him. You can make an argument for Devin Booker, who's averaging 30 points for the entire NBA Finals. He obviously paced the Suns in game two, leading them with 31 points and about 5 rebounds, 6 assists. But he's been shooting it efficiently. He's only had one bad game this NBA Finals in game three when he dropped just 10 points. But he could make a strong argument of the Phoenix Suns. And even though they lost the last two games, he's dropped 40 back-to-back efforts. He's doing his part. You could shift to the Milwaukee Bucks and say, well, Chris Middleton stepped up in a huge way. Game four drops 40 points. They needed all of those points. Dropped 14 points in the fourth quarter. The Bucks trailed 97-99. With 2.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, he goes on his own 6-0 run to give the Bucks a 103-99 lead that they would never relinquish. So he's had a moment where he's been the sole reason behind a victory. You've got Jrue Holiday, who stepped up on Saturday night in Game 5. I don't know if the Bucks win that game if it's not for Jrue Holiday's performance, if it's not for his 14 points and 5 assists in the second quarter. He dropped 27 and 13. So there are a lot of interesting candidates, but the reality is, when it comes down to it, the NBA Finals MVP, at least as of right now, barring some drastic change, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. The reality is it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's still not close, even with all of those other stats that I laid out, the other performances that I've laid out. Because the reality is the Milwaukee Bucks would not have won a game in this series, let alone the NBA Finals. And we'll see if they even can close it out, but they wouldn't have even won 3 games if it wasn't for the production that Giannis has been giving him. He's been averaging 32 points, 13 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a block a game on 60% shooting from the floor. Granted, a lot of the shots, there's no question, have been right around the rim, but he's been doing it on both ends of the floor. He's been the most consistent player for the Milwaukee Bucks, not only this entire postseason, but this NBA Finals. And you think about his performances in every single game. And I'm not just saying that he's the leading candidate for MVP because he's playing exceptionally well a week or two removed from a hyperextended knee. No, he's playing exceptionally well with or without the knee injury. Game one, what does he do? 20 points, 17 rebounds, literally a week after his hyperextended knee. Sure, they lost game one by 13 points. That happens. Game two comes back, 42 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Has the iconic chase down block on Mikal Bridges. Doing it on both ends of the floor. He pours in a huge performance. Yes, they come out on the short end of the stick, but he steps up in a major way. Again, now he's just 9 days removed from a hyperextended knee. Then you go to game 3. He leads the Bucks to a game 3 win, 41-point performance in game 3. Then in game 4, people are saying, well, he didn't necessarily have the offensive production that people were maybe expecting given the performances that he had strung together. But he still drops 26 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals. And the block he had, again, will live on in NBA Finals history. It's one of the greatest blocks we've ever seen on DeAndre Ayton. Met him at the mountaintop. and basically pushed his behind down the mountain. Just said, nope, you're not coming to the top of here. I'm based here first. Sent his butt packing home. That was an iconic block. Then game 5, we just saw again an iconic moment. Still pours in 32, 9, and 6. Has the alley-oop and one on the other end to cinch up game 5 on the road. Misses the next rebound, the next free throw, then tips it back out to Chris Middleton. So the Bucks would not, as I've said, the Bucks would not have even won a game, let alone 3 games in this NBA Finals, if it wasn't for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, whether it's a win or a loss, does not matter. The impact and the versatility, the guy defends 1 through 5. He's a walking 30 and 15. You can book it. You can pencil him in for 30 and 15 pretty much every single night that he plays. And that's not something that can be said for every other player playing in this NBA Finals. You just can't. And the way that he is able to alter shots, switch out onto the guards, punish you down low, rebound the basketball. He just does everything. He does absolutely everything. And the Phoenix Suns, when he shows and kind of fakes a double, it puts a little bit of doubt, puts a little bit of fear when they're driving to the basket, knowing he's right around the rim going to be contesting a shot. So, again, even in game 3, for example, 17 free throws, made 13 of them, 17 free throw attempts. The guy's just physical. And I just love the joy. I love the passion. You can see the smile just pasted across his face every time he comes into the post-game interviews, win or lose. He's just got a great attitude, a great spirit about him. He's hard not to like. And right now, if they were to close out game 6 and win the final and win the title, and he drops again 30 and 15, you'd be hard-pressed not to give him the NBA Finals award. And transitioning to another topic in the NBA, it's interesting. Kevin Durant made some interesting comments yesterday in response to an Instagram comment claiming that the Bucks and the Suns series is the best finals of all time. Kevin Durant came in and said, actually, peep for a second, the 2017 finals when his Golden State Warriors beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games was actually a better finals, according to Kevin Durant. Thought that the matchups were even. So then it made me think about, okay, well, obviously that wasn't the greatest finals. This Bucks-Suns finals, as intriguing as it is, this isn't the best NBA finals of all time either. What are my top 3 NBA final series? Now, again, I completely understand that it's subjective. It's probably biased. People may think it's erroneous or flawed or biased, whatever, but the bottom line is, when you think about the greatest NBA Finals series, what do they all have? Well, there are a number of consistent themes, number of consistent elements and traits. You've got intrigue, you've got rivalries, you've got storylines and narratives, you've got star power. And were they an epic and long series? That's the reality. The best finals are the ones that have typically gone 7 games. And so with that being said, again, there are a lot of good options you can go with. There's so many Lakers-Celtics rivalries and NBA Finals matchups in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s that you could go to. The Lakers and the Knicks, and then in 1970, what was a tremendous NBA Finals with Walt Frazier and Willis Reed coming back to win Game 7. That was tremendous. You could go to MJ and the Bulls with some big-time NBA Finals performances against the Suns, against the Jazz, the Pistons and the Lakers. There are a bunch of different NBA Finals that were great. There's no question about it. But to me, these are my 3 top NBA Finals series of all time. So at number 1, No one talks about this. No one talks about this NBA Finals. It did not take place that long ago. 2010 between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers was one of the greatest, in my mind, it's number 3 for the greatest NBA Finals series of all time. Not only was this an NBA Finals that lasted 7 games, 2 of the most storied franchises in NBA Finals history, Boston and LA, at the heat of their rivalry, at the peak of their rivalry, there was true animosity and hatred that was felt between the Boston Celtics and the Lakers. The Lakers now look at the Boston Celtics and they kind of dismiss them because it's not the same. But back then, you had the Celtics coming off an NBA title over the Lakers in 2008. So the storyline, could Kobe get over the hurdle, get over the hump? It's Kobe and Pau. It's the Boston Celtics big 4 really at the time with Pierce, KG, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. And then you look at the intricacies of each game. A younger Doc Rivers. You got Phil Jackson, Staples Center, TD Garden. Both teams split the first 4 games. It's 2-2. Game 5 at TD Garden, Kobe drops 36. Paul Pierce in a duel drops 35. You got Dwayne Wade in the stands shaking his head at some of the shots that Kobe's hitting from downtown. Lakers come back, blow out the Celtics in Game 6. You force a Game 7 at home in LA, a Game 7 between the Celtics and the Lakers. It's an absolute grudge match. It's grueling. It's a dogfight. They're bludgeoning one another. The score is 57-53 going into the fourth quarter. And a lot of it is defense. It's nerves. It's palpable. The tension in the arena is incredible. The Celtics led by 13 points midway through the third quarter. And again, as I said, going into the fourth quarter, it's a 4-point game, 57-53. And the Lakers find a way to prevail at home. Kobe shot it terribly, playing with a broken finger, making no excuses. And the hero for the Lakers, the unsung hero, Sasha Vujacic, goes to the free throw line and clinches and ices the NBA Finals. He doesn't play a minute of the game, doesn't play a second of the game. Phil Jackson throws him in there, 81-79, 11.7 seconds left. Phil Jackson throws Sasha Vujacic into the game for the first time in Game 7 because he knows he's going to be immediately fouled. He goes to the free throw line, ices 2 free throws, and that's the NBA title. The 16th title for the Lakers, the first over the Celtics in practically 30 years. That finals was an absolute classic. That's number 3. At number 2, I touched on it earlier. The Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs in 2013. First of all, you've got the young guns or the younger guns trying to repeat in Miami. Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh. Obviously, you've got the veteran Spurs with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, a younger stallion in Kawhi Leonard. And Game 1, the tone of the game was set in Game 1 of the series. You had Tony Parker dribbling the basketball, shot clock winding down. He's on his knees. He pump fake, step through LeBron, throws up a bank shot with under 10 seconds to go to give the Spurs a 92-88 game 1 victory. And then obviously you fast forward to Game 6, the Spurs win Game 5. And at the time, it was a 2-3-2 format. Again, the San Antonio Spurs seeking their 5th NBA title. LeBron seeking his 2nd NBA title to repeat for the Heat. And Game 6 was an all-time classic. Spurs had the game in their hands. LeBron off the curl, misses the 3. Tim Duncan's on the bench. Popovich had Duncan on the bench. Chris Bosh with the offensive rebound. Kicks it back out to a backpedaling Ray Allen in the corner. Hoists up a 3-pointer. It's nothing but net. Sends the game into overtime. The Heat survive in OT. And then in Game 7, you got LeBron, who pours in 37 points, including a clutch jumper on Kawhi. And he locks up the NBA championship in 7 games. Heartbreaking loss for the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, it sets up the storyline going into 2014, when then it was the Spurs that exacted some revenge. But those 2013 finals to me, was an all-time classic. Again, you think about the star power, the history, the intrigue, the compellingness of each matchup, and it had everything. I mean, the shot in Game 6 might have been the greatest shot in NBA Finals history. That Ray Allen three-pointer may have very well been the greatest shot in NBA Finals history. So you've got that working on your side. So that's number two. And at number one, I think I'd be hard-pressed to go in any other direction. The 2016 finals between the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. Now, I know that technically only one game in this series was actually in single digits. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that in this 7-game series, only one game, the final score was within single digits. That was Game 7. But you think about star power. You think about history. A franchise altering and defining moment. You got the Cavaliers and LeBron James trying to deliver on his promise. Cleveland's never won a finals, an NBA championship in their franchise's existence. LeBron James, obviously, the turmoil that came after he departed from Cleveland the first time. He returned in 2014 or 2015, rather, when the Warriors won the NBA Finals over the Cavs. LeBron wasn't playing with Kyrie or Kevin Love. Now they've got a healthy and loaded team. You got the Warriors that are shattering records in the regular season, dubbed the greatest regular season, the greatest team in NBA history, 73-9, the best record in the NBA. You got Steph Curry, who's the unanimous league MVP, back-to-back league MVP, the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. And you've got the strength in numbers going up against the Land and the Cavaliers. Again, round two. The second matchup was just absolutely sensational. You've got Draymond Green, who gets suspended in Game 4. I still believe that the Golden State Warriors would have won the NBA Finals had Draymond Green not gotten suspended for Game 5. It is what it is. You've got LeBron and Kyrie, who both dropped 41 points in Game 5 on the road. One of the greatest road performances that we've ever seen. They combined for 82 points. And then obviously Game 7 is on the road. Oracle Arena is roaring. You have LeBron's famous chase down block, the greatest block in NBA history. You've got the shot by Kyrie, one of the clutchest shots in NBA Finals history over Steph to give the Cavs a 3-point lead, 92-89. And you've got the history. You've got the moment. You've got the crying, LeBron delivering, Kyrie delivering, Kevin Love delivering. And it was just an absolutely sensational finals. I mean, the Cavs came back from 3-1 down. No team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from 3-1 down. And here they do it. And it's special. And it's those moments that you look back and you say, that's what kind of encapsulates a player's career, franchise's history with plays like that. And I was just impressed. And to me, that to me is the greatest NBA Finals series up to this point. Now, again, the Bucks Suns is a great NBA Finals. Don't want to take away from that at all. It's a great NBA Finals, but there needs to be added layers for it to crack into the top 3, top 5, top 10, just the greatest of all time ever. Morning Joe right here in J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on YouTube Mondays and Wednesday mornings, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. So I know that a lot of people haven't really been following the Gold Cup in soccer. Obviously, the Euros just took place. The Copa America just took place in South America, one of the second biggest soccer tournament in the world. Obviously, the World Cup is the biggest one. And so the U.S. is playing in the CONCACAF Gold Cup right now. They actually just beat Canada yesterday 1-0 to win the Group B stage. Now they've just advanced the knockout round. They'll play the loser between Costa Rica and Jamaica. And the impressive thing to me, again, they won all 3 matches in their Group B stage. They just beat Canada. They beat Haiti in their opener, 1-0. They beat Martinique 6-1 in their second round matchup. But to me, this is what's impressive. And by the way, against Canada, Canada actually dominated possession in this game. They had more scoring opportunities. They had more chances for them. But Shaq Moore scored in the first 20 seconds of the game, and the U.S. never looked back. But both teams obviously were assured of advancing, so that's it is what it is. And that goal was actually the fastest goal scored in Gold Cup and U.S. men's national team history. Clint Dempsey scored in the first 30 seconds of the 2014 World Cup against Ghana. He scored in the first 30 seconds. That was the next closest, but Shaq Moore eclipsed that mark. But the Americans, this is what's impressive. Not only have they won 13 straight games in CONCACAF, but we remember where this U.S. team was just 2 years ago, with an opportunity to qualify for the for the World Cup in Russia in 2018. All they needed was a draw against Trinidad and Tobago to qualify for the World Cup, and they couldn't do it. And it was probably one of the most demoralizing, disgraceful, shameful, embarrassing, humiliating performances that we could have seen from a U.S. men's national soccer team. That was literally rock bottom for the U.S. men's national soccer team. We were a laughingstock to the world. The perception of the U.S. men's national soccer team was that we were awful because we lost to Trinidad and Tobago. And that's the narrative that was circulating for the last 2 years, was how would the psyche of this team, how would the makeup of this team respond to that embarrassment 2 years ago in their first opportunity to avenge that this year. And the characteristic that always seemed to be missing from the U.S. men's national soccer team is passion, was care, investment. Do you truly buy in to the national team? Do you care enough about the U.S. men's national team that you are going to invest resources, that the players that you're going to train, that you're going to develop, that you're going to bring into this program, will they actually care and buy in and want to win? That intangible and that desperation is what was missing. You look at some of the other teams in the world, other countries, what makes them so good is that they invest all their resources into their soccer team. The U.S. is like a trove of athletes. They have a trove of athletes. We have an embarrassment of riches and many options for athletes to choose from. You can play in the NBA. You can play in the MLB. You can play in the NFL, the PGA Tour. Doesn't matter, the NHL. In some of these other countries, like Argentina, like Brazil, like Denmark, like France, like Portugal, like England, soccer is their culture. Soccer is their life. Soccer is their religion. Soccer is their ideology. That's what resonates with them. And so they invest and they pour in all these resources to ensuring that the one sport that they can compete in is soccer. And the U.S. has the resources. They just didn't dedicate enough to that specific sport. And so we saw the huge disparity. Because again, just the profusion of talent that we've got at our disposal in the U.S., it's a luxury. It's a luxury that we haven't taken advantage of. And so now when I finally watch this team, and again, this was without Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie, who are two of the leaders of the national team. They were not playing in the Gold Cup. But when I was watching this team play, for the first time in years, I finally saw the passion. I finally saw the joy, the togetherness, the camaraderie amongst the guys. The guys genuinely seemed joyful playing with one another. And that was something that was missing. That joy was something that seemed to be absent of previous U.S. men's national soccer teams. And it's not a knock on them. I love some of the guys that we used to have. The Tim Howards, the Landon Donovans, the Clint Dempseys, the Michael Bradleys, the John Brooks of the world. I loved those guys. But the Josie Altidores, I love those guys. They are a hallmark name in U.S. men's soccer history. They absolutely left an indelible mark, had an incredible run with the U.S. men's national team. But I'm liking some of the guys that I'm starting to see now. Daryl Dike is starting to play extremely well. Obviously, Jazzy Zardes, Sebastian Leggett, Kellen Acosta. I mean, Shaq Moore, obviously, who had an impact. These guys have energy. These guys have passion. They've got athleticism out on the field. It doesn't seem like when we watch the U.S. men's national team that we don't have the athletes, we don't have the horses, we don't have the stallions to go out and compete. Now it seems like we do, and you throw in Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie back into the fold in 2 years from now when they actually play for the team. I like the direction that they're going. I like the job right now that they're all doing. I forget the manager's name. Greg Berhalter, I believe, took over for the former, I think it was a German manager that used to be the head of the U.S. men's soccer team. I like the direction and just the approach to the game. And again, it's very small sample size. We'll see how they do against Costa Rica or Jamaica. Hopefully they can win those matches. But again, I just like what I'm seeing right now out of this U.S. men's soccer team. And I think that the talent level is finally starting to get on par with some of those other countries. That's something that couldn't be said before. And finally, we get a chance to see that. Transitioning to the MLB very quickly. Second half of the MLB season got underway about a week ago. And this is typically when teams are starting to round into form and approach the second half of the season a little bit more seriously, right? And so the New York Yankees, such a fascinating team. They just wrapped up a brief 3-game series against the Boston Red Sox yesterday. They blew them out 9-1. They actually took the series. They won 2 of 3 games. The 4th game that they should have played got postponed. And the Boston Red Sox right now top the AL East, half game ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, I don't talk about baseball every single day because there's so many games that are being played, but there are a few franchises that we pay attention to, and the New York Yankees are one of those franchises. The most World Series championships in MLB history with 27, and the Yankees are one of the most perplexing and, to be honest, underachieving teams that we've seen this year. There's no question about it. One of the most perplexing and underachieving teams. To start this year, me and other media pundits and experts prognosticated and projected that the New York Yankees were a top 3 team in baseball. You look at this team's talent, the talent level they have on paper should suggest that they would have a better record, that they would have more success. When you've got Aaron Judge, when you've got Giancarlo Stanton, when you got Gleyber Torres, when you got Gio Urshela, and when you got DJ LeMahieu, this team is stacked. This team is absolutely stacked, and they stumbled out of the gates to start the year. At one point, they were 5-10, and they never seemed to fully recover from that start. And it's extremely perplexing to me and mind-boggling because this team is just a Rubik's Cube that we can't quite figure out. We can't pinpoint why it is exactly that they've had to deal with so much strife. But for whatever reason, again, this is a team that's got the payroll to suggest that they should be competing for a World Series. And so this is why, and I'm not even a New York Yankees fan. I actually like the Dodgers. I root for the Dodgers in LA. But I like witnessing greatness. I like witnessing history and the best players and the best teams competing against one another. And right now, the Yankees, they're 48 and 44. They're fourth in the AL East, behind the Toronto Blue Jays, behind the Tampa Bay Rays, and behind the Boston Red Sox. And with all of that being said, if I had to guess, because the question is, will they make the playoffs? And it's a very narrow margin for them to reach the playoffs right now, because you look at the standings, and the answer is I do think that they will creep into a wild card spot, because if you look at the standings right now, there are a couple certainties. Baseball extended and expanded their postseason. So now there's 10 teams that reach the postseason. The 3 division leaders, and then 2 extra wild card spots in the NL and in the AL. If you look at the AL, you got the Boston Red Sox that are atop the AL East, the Chicago White Sox atop the AL Central, the Houston Astros atop the AL West. And right now it looks like the Astros and the White Sox will cinch up their division leaders. We'll cinch up those divisions, so they will advance. And then whether it's the Boston Red Sox or the Tampa Bay Rays, one of those teams is going to win their division, and the other is going to be the first wild card team. So that's 4. So now you've got one final playoff wild card spot up for grabs between the Oakland A's, who are 3.5 games up over the Yankees, the Seattle Mariners, that are 1 game up over the Yankees, and the Toronto Blue Jays, that are 1 game up. So you got 4 teams: the A's, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. Again, 3 teams from the same division competing, and you've got 4 teams competing realistically for one final spot. Now, here is why I ultimately think that the Yankees can prevail and come out on top of this. And mind you, I am picking with my heart over my head. The pragmatic thing is, no, the Yankees are not going to make the playoffs. They don't look like a playoff caliber team. They don't have the consistency that's needed. But the reality is, my heart is saying they just have too much talent. And whether or not you believe they've come up short in previous postseasons, they've made the postseasons with this team. Gary Sanchez, too, by the way. They've made the postseason with this team. And so you look at you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, and you say to yourself, well, they're having a great season. I love Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but I think the Yankees can leapfrog them. They're only a game back, 2 games back in the loss column. I think they can catch the Blue Jays. I think they can catch the Mariners. The Mariners are only a game up on them, and I like what Seattle's got going on, but it's the Yankees. They'll find a way. The only team that is going to be a little dicey is the Oakland A's, who are 3.5 games up. But the beauty is you've got intra-division games against the Blue Jays, and you've got interleague games coming up against all those teams, against the Mariners, against the Oakland A's. So you've got opportunities to leapfrog them in the standings. But the misconception is that the Yankees' struggles are because they're pitching. No, the Yankees' struggles was not with their pitching. They got a top 10 bullpen. They have a top 10 ERA for their arms in the MLB. Their issue is with their batting. They're at bats. They can't do damage on offense, which is where they had normally been so successful. They rank 19th in the MLB in batting average at .235. In the MLB, the Yankees are 19th. The only saving grace is that the Oakland A's somehow have a worse batting average than they do. Even the Tampa Bay Rays have a worse batting average than they do as a team. But they've got slightly better pitching, and they don't make as many errors, and they get on base, and they score more. So, again, it's a very sticky situation for the Yankees right now, and I think there should be some optimism after beating the Red Sox that they can start to really turn this thing around. Again, they got off to such a horrendous start, but I do think that they can make the playoffs just because they've got too much talent to miss. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I think you have to blow it all up. I really do. Again, I mean, Garrett Cole is fantastic. You're paying these guys exorbitant amounts of money. And if it doesn't yield any wins, then what's the point? So again, they have not made it easy on themselves at all. They have not made it easy on themselves, but I still like their chances to advance and at least lock up a wild card spot. Again, they're not going to win the AL East. They're not going to surpass the Red Sox. They're not going to surpass the Rays. They might make it more interesting, but ultimately they're going to come up a little bit short. But that's not their target. Their target should be the Oakland A's, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays. Those are the teams that they should be competing against. Okay, final topic of the day. Malkin's moments. Have a number of great Malkin's moments for you this week. It's my favorite segment of the show that I do, recognizing individuals for some incredible performances that I've seen. So number one, have to start with the American Colin Morikawa, who became the first player in golf history to win 2 different majors in his first appearances. This is a guy who's 24 years old. He just won the Open yesterday. It was the first time he's ever competed in the Open. He won the PGA Championship in 2020, which was the first time that he competed in the PGA Championship. So 2 majors before the age of 25. There's only a handful of guys that are a part of that group. And again, he's halfway short of the ultimate Grand Slam after 8 starts, which since Bobby Jones did it in 1926, here are the number of guys that have been able to do this. Gene Sarazen, obviously Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Steve Ballesteros, Tiger Woods, and Rory McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth were all the only others to win 2 majors before the age of 25. He's been absolutely sensational. The 6th player in the past 100 years to win in his debut at the Open. He went bogey-free for the entire final round, and actually including the final 31 holes. He did not shoot a bogey the entire last 31 holes of the golf at the golf club. It's sensational. Royal St. George Golf Club in Sandwich, United Kingdom, the 2nd career major for him. And his total of 15 under 265 was a 72-hole record in 15 Opens at Royal St. George's. And in 13 of them, the winning score has been 5 under or lower. And he shot minus 15. He actually trailed Louis Oosthuizen going into the final round. So major shout out to the American. And I just love the direction of the American golfers. He's playing well. Jordan Spieth is starting to creep back in. This was the first top 2 finish for Jordan Spieth since 2017 when he won the Open. So I'm glad to see that Jordan Spieth is back into the fold. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka both finished top 10. So U.S. golf, even John Rahm tied for 2nd, picking up right where he left off. So golf is in a really good spot right now. Okay, Alex Reyes for the Cardinals, for the St. Louis Cardinals, set an MLB record, passing LaTroy Hopkins with 24 straight saves to begin his career with the Cardinals. I think that sometimes we overlook just how important a closer is in baseball, not just for the mere fact that, hey, can you close the game for us, but with the proliferation of offense and how much more offensive potency there is in the MLB. That's so impressive. That is so impressive to be able to string together 24 straight saves in your career debut with the St. Louis Cardinals. That is absolutely sensational. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. becomes the fastest Blue Jay hitter ever to hit 31 home runs. He's done it in 90 games. That's a home run every 3 games for Vladdy. This guy has been sensational. If only his team, the Toronto Blue Jays, had a slightly better record, then maybe he would warrant a little bit more consideration for league MVP, or at least for at least AL MVP. This guy has been an absolute home run machine, batting machine, and he's fun to watch. He's absolutely fun to watch. He's just shattering records every single game that he plays. Big shout out to him. The White Sox, Chicago White Sox, as Tim Anderson extended his hitting streak to 15 straight games. That is extremely difficult to do in the MLB. Major shout out to him. Charlie Blackmon hit a walk-off home run to give the Rockies a 6-5 win over the Dodgers in the 10th inning yesterday. Big shout out to him. That's a clutch at bat in the Mile High City. And then finally, this is my favorite one. Lionel Messi. We obviously know that he won the Copa del Rey. Argentina beat Brazil 1-0 last week, or maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, last week. And he posted a picture of him holding the Copa America, posted a picture onto Instagram, and apparently it just surpassed one of Cristiano Ronaldo's pictures for the most ever likes of an Instagram post for a sports athlete. His sports photo is the most liked sports Instagram photo ever. It surpassed 20 million likes for Lionel Messi. And again, obviously that was a breakthrough moment for him and his career. And I was so happy for him that he finally captured that elusive international trophy that people have been hanging over his head. He's arguably the greatest soccer player of all time. He's my favorite soccer player of all time, an absolute legend, master of the football. And it's just such I feel incredibly blessed. To be able to watch him play. Absolutely sensational. That's all the time that I got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Wow, that hour has flown by. Morning Joe right here on J&J Media Network, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on YouTube. I'm Jonah Malkin every single Monday and Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to like, review, subscribe to my YouTube page, Morning Joe with Jonah Malkin. Follow me on Twitter, Morning Joe with Jonah Malkin, or just my personal handle, Jonah Malkin, on Instagram, all that jazz. And as always, have a lovely rest of your morning.